Hey noobs, Mr. Frog here. Back in 2016, Enter the Gungeon was a massive smash hit success upon release. It won over gamers with its fantastic blend of intense bullet hell gameplay and roguelike elements. Well, if you ever thought that Enter the Gungeon could have used a bit more waifus and tentacles, then you may be interested in today's video, as today we will be taking a look at Endless Forest Dream, a new action roguelike developed by Seeking-chan and published by Mango Party. Endless Forest Dream is essentially a 2D arena shooter where you must survive against a horde of monsters and tentacles. On the surface, the game is very similar to Enter the Gungeon, with its fast-paced bullet hell style combat and large variety of weapons, all with their own unique playstyle and strategies. The key difference here is the addition of another form of content, which we will get into later in the video. As for the story, the game opens with a brief cutscene introducing the world and its main character. It's a pretty straightforward story, where essentially the world has been invaded by deadly tentacle monsters. To appease and quell the destruction of these monsters, humanity began to provide regular sacrifices to them. In the game, you will play as one of the chosen to be sacrificed and try and fight your way to freedom. As you progress through the game, you will uncover some additional story segments as well that reveal more backstory about the characters. But I would say that the game doesn't have an overly strong story focus to it, and the dialogue is mostly only a few lines in between each level. It's definitely enough to keep you entertained though, and it at least provides a logical reason for there to be all of these tentacle monsters. As for the gameplay, it is an action arena shooter where you move and use items with the keyboard and aim, shoot, and dodge with the mouse. This unfortunately makes the game not qualify as being fully one-hand playable, but as a majority of the H content is outside of combat, it shouldn't affect your enjoyment too much. The game is divided into different days, with each day being a separate level with a unique boss to defeat. The stage is mostly just a smaller square arena where you must defend against waves of enemies until the danger bar maxes out and you can then challenge the boss. You progress through the level by selecting what type of reward you would like to receive before each wave, such as chests with new weapons, stat upgrades, stores to purchase stuff, and replenishment rewards with health and ammo. You start each level with a regular pistol, but as you clear the waves, you have a chance to either purchase or receive chests with unique weapons. The game has a good variety of weapon types, ranging from bows, rifles, rocket launchers, laser rifles, and much more. They all have their own distinct playstyles, and it is fun testing them all out to see which one works best for the level. In addition to the guns, you will also regularly receive randomized upgrades. Unfortunately, the majority of the upgrades you will receive are just static stat upgrades, such as increased reload speed, movement speed, health, and damage. There are a few unique passive ability upgrades, but you will likely only receive a few each run. When you do receive one, they will likely not majorly change up the way in which you play the game either, or which guns you would consider useful. While the stat upgrades do feel satisfying to receive, I feel like more interesting passive upgrades that lead to different strategies and weapon synergies, similar to what a few other roguelikes have, would have helped in making each run feel more distinct from the previous. There is not a whole lot of strategy or tactics involved in the selection of weapons and upgrades here, and there is a noticeable lack of dopamine rush from hitting big with an ability and weapon combo. In addition to the weapons and passives, you can also unlock additional active abilities. You start with a simple grenade that you can lob around, but there are a few additional ones, such as a medkit to self-heal with, and a portable turret. While most of the time you will need to rely on luck to find the different weapons and abilities, occasionally you can come across a store to purchase different items and upgrades as well. At these stores, you can also purchase the ability to fight specific enemies in a free play battle mode for easy access to their H scenes. As for the combat itself, I do think it feels smooth and satisfying to play. Enemies will unleash waves of bullets that must be avoided by careful positioning or immunity frames through dodge rolling. There is a decent amount of enemy variety as well, with some rushing quickly towards you and others attacking from afar. Gameplay on the weapons feels good as well, with a good amount of variety in playstyles. Some weapons need to be charged up, while others may rapidly fire away. It admittedly may not be quite as good as Enter the Gungeon weapon design, but for a smaller H game it is rather impressive. The highlight of each stage though is probably the boss fights. The fights are intense and also feature some of the best animation work in the game. There are only a few boss fights, but each of them offer a fun challenge. The overall difficulty in the game I'd say is at a decent level, but it is largely dependent on how good your weapon and stat pickups were throughout your run. If you ended up getting mostly non-damage stat upgrades, such as movement speed and only a few good weapons, it can feel like a struggle to defeat the boss, but if you get a lot of damage upgrades and big pumper weapons, then they will undoubtedly go down very fast. The game provides enough challenge as to not feel too easy, but also isn't hard enough to feel frustrating either. If you are looking for a tougher challenge though, each level does have a hard difficulty that will also reward you with a discount for the free play battle enemy unlocks. Which leads us onto the real content of this game, the H content. The majority of H content in Endless Forest Dream is received upon defeat. This essentially means that you have to be defeated to receive the H content, which can be a bit annoying if you'd rather focus on clearing the level. Occasionally, when taking damage, you can also be stunned, which will require you to spam a few keyboard keys to get back up. You can choose to either stay stunned to receive some light pixel scenes, or get back up and continue to fight. These pixel scenes are decent and mostly just sprite animations similar to the game's normal art. If you are entirely defeated though, you will then receive a full scene with static CGs. Each scene will have multiple CGs that progress along with the scene. The content here is admittedly pretty far from vanilla, which probably shouldn't come as a surprise considering the enemies are tentacle monsters. Regardless though, the CGs are well illustrated and voice acted. I think as long as you are a fan of this type of content and enjoy the main character, you will probably enjoy these scenes, but if you are more of a vanilla fan, then I doubt you will enjoy what you receive here. Overall, Endless Forest Dream is a surprisingly fun and enjoyable arena shooter roguelike. It may not be up to the same par as Enter the Gungeon, but for a smaller indie H game, it holds up well enough and should keep you entertained for a few hours. I'd say the main downside with the game is the lack of more strategic upgrade choices during your run, as well as the game's admittedly fairly short runtime. There are currently only a few days in the game, without much in the way of a satisfying resolution either. I do think the game has a decent amount of replay value though, due to the roguelike nature, as well as the hard modes to provide additional challenge for those who really enjoy it. It would be interesting to see if the game receives some sort of updates in the future to add maybe a few more additional stages, but in its current state, it feels like a few things are missing here. It's definitely a fun and charming game though, with some fantastic pixel artwork and animations, but I do think it falls just a bit short of receiving a stronger rating. With that being said, Mr. Frog awards this game a decent Mr. Frog sip. Have you played this game? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And if you'd like to see more H-game content, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure to check out the Mr. Frog stream over on Twitch. Later, noobs.